Okay, so this is lab 4. We're going to add this to our other program. First, we got to make the drawing. Typically what you want to do is you want to draw, this would be like a customer's drawing. They gave you this and they want you to machine this into the face of this block. It'd be like a mold or something that you pour into, or the beginning of a some kind of bolt circle object here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to use can cycles like from the lesson and just give it XY positions for all these holes. And the reason you have to draw from this is because if you just program in the XY positions, they'll have rounding errors on them because they're not really drawn with XY positions. They're drawn with a bolt circle. Okay, so there's basically you draw this bolt circle, you put the first one at the top, and then you array them around so they're at angles. Okay, so they're not truly drawn with XY positions. They're drawn with a array around the circle. So that's how we have to draw them. We do have to face off the part 40 thousandths deep like we did back in lab 2 there. So we'll probably just copy and paste those lines down into the program. We'll have to flip the part. So this is the add to the program by adding an M0 code so we can flip it. Okay, so we'll go through that too when we get that far. But so we're using the same program we did before. Use a standard drill cycle with a dwell time, okay, for the counter bores and an R value of negative 0.25. Okay, so we're going to negative 0.25 is the R cycle, and the reason for that is because we're going to machine all this other stuff off first, and then we'll be lower than the head of the part. So we don't have to go so far up and it goes faster. The whole idea of programming is to make it go fast. First thing we need to do is program it, or to draw it. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We'll draw it from this. You can see all the depths here. We'll draw these up and then we'll probably open up the other drawing to try to make sure we got everything on there. So we've got our wax block here. And probably the first thing we want to do is put a hole right in the center of that. So the easiest way to put a hole in the center of it is we do have our XY here, so you can just type in the XY position, or we can draw a line across and get a center point. It's probably faster to just type in the XY. Okay, the action plan here is draw these 2 center circles, and we'll copy them straight up, however far up that is on that bolt circle. It'd be half of the bolt circle, so 1.0625, 1/16. So we'll copy them straight up. We'll probably draw that bolt circle first, so then it'll be easier to copy it up. We'll just copy it up to there. And then we'll array, it looks like there's 7 of them. Yeah, I think there's 7 of them. Yep, 7 of them. We'll array 7 of them around there. I'll draw the rest of the circles. And then I think we're ready to basically add some information on it. And then we'll go to programming. Okay, so let's start. So we'll go pick circle in the home tab. Okay, and it's in a radius, of course. And the circles, I'm going to go up there and pick circle diameter. It'll be a lot easier. So center diameter circle. And it says where's the center point? Well, this is a 3x3, so it's 1.5, comma 1.5. Okay, we do have we're going from our XY, so we do not need to put at in front of it. Okay. And it looks like I am in dimension, so I am going to escape. I can't see my layers there. I don't want to be in tool. I'm going to go back to object and do it all over again. Make sure you're in either a 0 layer or a white layer, not your dimension layer or your tool layer. So I'll try again here. 1.5, comma 1.5. Okay, and the diameter of these things, the first one is 0.25, size of our bit. So 0.25, enter. I'm going to hit enter to repeat it. And make sure you turn your snaps and your ortho on. So turn your ortho and snaps on. Okay. So if you can't see it on the video because it's below, I'm turning my snaps on and I'm turning my ortho on. Not snap mode and not display grid. It's the object snap. Okay. So it snaps to like circles and center points and the ortho. All right. And I'm going to draw another one. And this one I think is 3/8. So it's 0.375, not 0.38. 0.375 is 3/8 of an inch, okay? A lot of times these are rounded off, but you need to use real world numbers, which is 3/8. And it looks like I hit enter to repeat. And enter to repeat doesn't work when you do center diameter, so I'm going to delete that one and try again here. pick circle diameter and 0.375. That's more like it. Okay, now we're going to draw the bolt circle on there, which is 2.125. It says is a bolt circle, so it's the same kind of thing. Going to pick center diameter, and 2.125 is the diameter of that. All right, so that is this one right here. We might as well change that to hidden while we're here, so we don't, or to center, I mean, because a bolt circle typically is drawn with center lines. So if you want to go ahead and pick that circle, and in the properties group, the bottom one is line type. Switch it over to center 2, I should say. And if you want to change colors, you can too. I usually change center lines to light, to the green. What other circles? We might as well draw the rest of the circles while we're doing it. We also need a 1.625 circle. So center diameter, 1.625. And then we need another one. It's no, not that one. 2.625. 2.625. Okay, I think that's all of them. Nope, there's one more in the middle too. Smaller one. 0.875. Okay, there we go. That's all of them. All right. All right, so these two center circles, we need to copy them up and basically put them on the quadrant of that bolt circle, okay? So we'll go pick copy from the modify group. Okay, and window those two circles, enter, and pick the center mark of those. And it might just snap right to it. It did not. So I'm going to do shift right click, hold down the shift, and then pick right click, and then you can let go. Hold down the shift and pick right click, and then that's it's called a running object snap, or running old snap. And basically what it does is when I pick one of these, it's going to turn all the other snaps off and only use this one, which is kind of nice. Now the bad thing is, if you accidentally pick, say I want quadrant, and I accidentally pick tangent, what'll happen is if I do it again, so watch me do it, I'll pick tangent here, and that's not going to work because it's wrong one. So I do shift right click again, and I pick quadrant. Well, that just turns them all off again. I didn't actually pick quadrant, so you got to kind of remember that if you make a mistake, you got to do it once. The first time cancels it, you got to do it a second time to actually get it to work. So that's kind of annoying if you make mistakes. We're going to the bolt circle, put it in there. Okay, and now we just want to array this 7 times, and make sure you turn what's it called? I'll know when I see it here. So I'm going to basically go to modify and pick the drop down by the array, pick polar array, okay? And then I'm gonna window those 2 circles we just put up there. We probably ought to put a center point on them first, I guess. Let's do that. Let's put a center. Our center points are huge on 2019 AutoCAD, but we still probably ought to put them in there. So before we array it, so pick annotate and drop it down in their center mark, okay? Pick center mark and just pick a circle and then put a nice gigantic center mark on it, okay? Now let's array it down. So go back to the home screen. So that was in the annotate screen. So in the home screen, I'm going to go back to this circular array, window all 3 of those objects, okay? Hit enter. Now my screen will change over. Well, not yet, it won't. So it says specify the center point. The center point is the center point of all the circles, not that little one. It's the center point of all the circles. So that's what we're spinning around. So make sure you pick that one. Okay, now it changes this around. So you want to make sure you turn associative off. Otherwise it becomes one object and you can't move them around later. So make sure you turn that off. We don't have 6 of them. We have 7 of them. Okay. I think that's it. Hit pick outside that box and another box for it to show up, and then just hit close array and it should be done. Turn associative off, change it to 7. Now you should have that. Okay, at this point we've got it all drawn correctly, so now we can open our other sheet. Well, where is the other sheet? I opened 400 things and didn't get the last one evidently. That's this one. So at this point, we can start adding everything else. So this is the layout for all the machining. And it looks like a mess, doesn't it? So what we got going on here is, let's go through it. So everything has to be dimensioned. And we're going to machine all these grooves out. So let's go through that real quick. So this thing is cupped out, okay? It's deepest right here in the middle, okay? And it looks like it is 0.2 plus 0.2, so right here is 0.4 deep, okay? Right here in this small part. And then around this part here, hopefully you can see my mouse in the video, around the other part in there, it's 0.2 deep, okay? So it's 0.2 deep. Basically everywhere is 0.2 deep, and this is another 0.2 deep. And then the depths of the holes are, the 1/4 inch one goes 1/2 inch deep, the 3/8 one goes 0.15 deep. Okay, so the 3/8 is like for a bolt head, okay, and it would be 0.415 deep plus 0.2, so it's 0.35, plus we're taking 40 thousandths off the face of this, so you got to add all those things up. Okay, so it'd be 40 plus 0.2, which would be 0.24, plus 0.15, so it'd be 0.39, just for this one here. Now the other one is a 1/2 inch deep. Now I'm going to go 1/2 inch deep from here. This, I don't know which way this one's drawn, but 1/2 inch deep is deep enough. So we'll go 1/2 plus 0.2 plus 0.4, which is 0.7, or maybe something like that. All right, but it's all on that other sheet. Okay, so that's why you see all these depths for these rings. Now, all that's listed on this sheet for you to program with. That's kind of why you put it all on there. So when you're programming, you can look back at this and get all the answers. All right, so I drew a center line across here. You don't need that. That was why I found the center last time instead of typing 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. The center mark of or the middle of that line gives you the middle point of the rectangle. So these are all the depths of all the circles. These extra center line circles are all the travel. These purple ones represent, or magenta ones represent the tool, okay? So let's start out with by putting those in there with all the center lines. So these are the tools that are going to cut around. So, and they've got to overlap, kind of like when we do the face off of the part where it cleans off the part nice and smooth. They have to overlap. So this circle is going to spin all the way around, and it's only going to go halfway, so we can use radius programming on circular interpolation. It'll probably go clockwise, so we'll go around this way, and then around, and then we'll move over, and then we'll go around, and then we'll move over and go down deeper in this middle one, and then we'll go around and around, and we'll come back up and move over and go around, and then we'll move over and go down and finish that one out. So it's a lot of programming. And all these ones on the outside are going to be done with can cycles. Okay, so you're just going to put in that like it's G81 with the information in it, and then you'll tell it to go to all these numbers around there. Okay. Okay, I made my mouse bigger. Hopefully you like that. Hopefully it's showing up in the video. All right, so let's put all these circles in here. So what we got to do is we got to make our bolt circles first. And I'm trying to remember what we did. So what you do is when you're trying to figure out how much to overlap, you want to have as few of circles for the travel as possible. And we know we have to be there, and we know we have to be here. So the distance between there, see if I can remember all this, is so this bolt circle is 2.625, right? It's dimensioned somewhere in there. No, it's 2.25. Okay, for that one. So that one's 2.25, and so half of that over would be 1.125 total distance. That's the radius. Okay, so from here to here, and I put the radius dimensions on here instead of diameters, which typically you use diameter, but we're doing programming, so it needs to have a radius. So that's why we did radius. Okay, that's probably you're thinking, well, why did he do that? Well, that's the reason. So it's 1.25 all the way across there, and the tool is 3/8. So 3/8, 1.125 divided by 3/8. We could do it with no overlaps 3 times. But the problem is we have to do a depth one here that's deeper. Okay, so we know we have one there, so we might as well just put one in the middle of both of them. All right, so what I want to do now is basically just to get it started, we'll draw a line straight across from the center point until we bump into this first bolt circle. All right, so let's do that. Draw a line from the center point of all our circles until we bump into the bolt circle, okay? And it should perpendicular. If it doesn't, then you can do a shift right click quadrant and force it to land on that thing, okay? And so we know we're going to start out there with 1. So we're going to copy one of those. Well, we might as well give all our bolt circles first, then it'll be easier to copy them over. And I know I'm going to need one right in the middle of these two, okay? So these two dimensions were a radius of, let's see here, I've got it right here anyway. So that one is 0.625. So let's make a bolt circle 0.625 right here in the middle. Okay, so pick a circle diameter, and pick it on the center point and make it a radius of 0.625. And hit undo because something's wrong there. I didn't see the right one or something. A lot of lines here. Oh, that's the radius. I did circle diameter. That's why it didn't work. Okay, center radius, standard circle. Try again. 0.625. It should be right in the middle there. Yeah, see how this one, and then we want to change the properties on that. I'm going to make it again green and center 2. Okay, so I've got those. So I'm going to basically put a circle here and a circle here and the same thing on the opposite side. Now, the next thing I need to do is I know that just by looking at this, there's one right in the middle of these 2 spots. So there's going to be one circle, one tool right here going around, one tool going around right here, but there's going to be a crossover point. So I need a circle in the middle there, okay? So just draw a short line between those 2 bolt circles, quadrants. So right here, straight over to this one, okay? Now I've got a line right in the middle, okay? Now I'm going to enter to finish it, and enter to repeat it. I accidentally hit zoom. So line, and this one goes from, so I need one from this line to the center point as well, okay, from the middle bolt circle to the center point. All right, what that's going to give me is that now I can use a midpoint to put all these in. Okay, I know that's kind of confusing, but we'll probably put these in and maybe just mirror them over to the other side, might be easier. So go ahead and pick, now we want to basically copy that 3/8 tool circle down to there. All right, so I'm going to go pick copy. All right, and I'm going to pick the 3/8 tool, which is the second biggest one. Hit enter, and I pick the center point, and I'm going to drop it in all those spots. So first at that quadrant of the bolt circle, then at the midpoint of this, you got to be careful. Midpoint's a triangle. Don't do it at the intersection. Make sure you get the triangle. It would theoretically work the other one, but it wouldn't be centered and it wouldn't be as efficient for the tool wear. So we want to be at the triangle midpoint of that line we just drew. Okay, and then we want to be on the quadrant of that other bolt circle. And then we want to be at the midpoint of that next line we just drew. Okay, but then of course the last one would be right here. And I'm not going to put it there because I already got one there. Just it's not purple, but I definitely realize there's got to be one there, so I'm not putting one there. Okay, remember this is your drawing; it doesn't go out to a customer, just for you when you're programming. All right, now I'm going to mirror all those to your side. So if you don't remember how to mirror, it's not too bad. Go to modify, you pick mirror, and then you got to pick all the objects you want to mirror. So I want to mirror all these. Okay. And then enter after you pick them. Now it wants a nice straight mirror line. So we got ortho 1, so I'm just going to pick right in the center line and then go down and make sure I don't snap to anything. You could snap to a quadrant, but I'm going to go down where nothing is and pick a spot. And then I just hit enter so it doesn't erase the current ones. All right, so that basically is going to, those are going to be positions for our machining. Okay, now sometimes I draw bolts, center lines all the way around there so you know it's those are the travel. We kind of do need that, I guess, so we can do our programming a little bit easier. So at this point, I'm going to go properties and switch the color over to whatever color my center lines were, which is green on mine. I'm going to switch the line type over to center. And I'm going to draw all those circles, which is real easy because I can just draw from center point to circle, center point. Some of them, 2 of them already exist, but just draw the rest of them, and then I'll walk around and check on everybody. So circle, center point, and just the ones that don't exist. Hit enter to repeat. Circle, we're doing center radius now. And we'll make sure you go to that, to the center point of that circle. Don't go on an intersection or nothing, all right? Okay, so now you should have center lines on all of them, okay? And those are going to be our travel, and we need those radiuses, so that's kind of why we did it. Now this whole thing is done drawing. The last thing I want you to do is I want you to number the positions you're going to go. So you don't want to go zigzag because you want this thing to be fast, and you're not allowed to pick the one I'm picking. So this is my center one is going to be my first one. You can do it like that if you want to. You can make this number 1, okay? But after that, you got to pick a different place for 2, and then make sure you go around clockwise. That way, everybody has a little bit different programming. I cut down on copying of programs. Okay, so I'm going to put text in for 1, and then I'm going to mine around just like this. But you got to pick a different one. Like you can pick 2 for that, or 2 for that, or 2 for that, and just continue around in a circle until you get them all the way through 7. So that's just single line text. Make sure you drop down and pick single line text, and I'm going to pick a spot for it, like right here. And 0.1 is fine for the height. Angle. I just messed it up. And I'm just going to put 1, enter. And I'm going to copy that because it's faster just to change them. I usually copy text a lot of times. So pick that, go to copy, and just pick my midpoint, boom, where's 2 at. So you can't pick 2 for that. And now I'll just double click on them to change them all. So these will be my order that I'm going to type in my XY locations. Then I'm going to double click on these and just change them. 2. Once you change 1, you just got to touch it. 3. That's faster than typing all that stuff. 4. I'll go around and check on everybody after I get this done. 5. 6. 7. And evidently I can't count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8. Okay, so the one's in the middle already. 8. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to dimension all these, but you have to dimension all these and turn it in. Okay, so these are all done with an ordinate dimensioning, okay? And then we want to use radius dimensioning for, of course, the radiuses and add the depth to them, just like we have here, okay? Well, I'm going to program it from this example. Nothing else too fancy in there. Radius dimensioning, these are not liters. Those are radius dimensions. They'll give you that radius, okay? So we're going to need that for programming. And so it's pretty easy. Ordinate dimensioning, drop it down if you don't remember, ordinate, and you pick the object for the XY. Should be on the dimension layer, which I wasn't, of course. Okay, let's try again. Ordinate. Make sure you actually for some reason it's not going to dimension layer. Make sure you actually pick the right spot. I got my colors maybe set up to be green. That's the problem there. By layer. That's what I should have picked. Okay, so dimension all those with ordinance. Make sure you're off the part when you're doing dimensioning. And I also got my properties set up to center line. Should have been by layer there as well. By layer, by layer. There we go. Now it all works. All right, so you do all the ordinate dimensioning and you do all the radius dimensioning, and just make it match this one. All right, I'm going to use this for the programming so we don't have such a long video. All right, so let's save this before we move on. This is lab 4, I think. Double check. How many windows open? Yep, lab 4. Okay. There's a sample file here too that kind of give you some ideas on programming. That's the sample NC file. I'm going to bring that over there as well in case I need it. Help me remind me of stuff. All right, so we're going to basically use, you would typically use your drawing for it. We're going to use my sample so we can get going here. We'll save it as lab 4 first of all before we move on. Okay, so I am going to open CNC Base Pro Lite here. Okay. And right off the bat, we have to open a Workspace. So I'll probably have to download that. I don't have it right here. Let's see, it's probably back in Lab 3 as a Workspace again. I'm using my laptop today so I can record it. So Lab 3, I think I had it there. I hope I do. Nope. Lab 2. So there's the Workspace mill Workspace. I'm going to right click and save that link onto my thumb drive here. You should have it hopefully on your U drive already. And it's not working. I have to download it, looks like. There it goes finally. It downloaded to my downloads folder. I'm going to shrink my screen up. If you got 2 screens, definitely use them. Okay, File, Open Workspace. You always got to, not open. You got to do Open Workspace. Open that file. Should be on your U drive. Open. Yep. It shuts it off. Now probably, more I think about that, you probably didn't necessarily need to do it because since we're using the last program, it would probably remember it anyway. So hit File, open your last file we did. It should be Lab 3, I think. I think mine was actually saved over the top as Lab 2 maybe, but. Okay. Looks like I didn't get the right one done here, unfortunately. But it'll still work. All right, so what you want to do here is you got to unlock it first. So hit Edit and unlock it. All right. And you should, at the end of your coding where we wrote our initials, okay? Let's resave this as Lab 4 first of all, I guess. File, save as Lab 4. So at the end of your initials, I usually put a couple spaces in there, and now we're going to basically have to flip this thing. Okay, and that is an M0. I don't know if I have that in the example or not. Let's see here. Oh, I don't. So we're just going to go back to the instructions. All right, so we basically did one face of that block of wax. We put our initials in and faced it off. Now we need to flip the part in the machine and face it off and then write the program in there again. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky. So to flip the part, I do have the instructions in here, right here. Okay, so add this program to the wax block you did last time by placing an M0. So M0 just stops the machine, okay? So before you stop the machine, you need to basically do these same codes. You need to shut the spindle off, or go to safe position, shut the spindle off. Okay. I'm going to highlight those. I'm going to hit Control C, and I'll pick up here and do Control V, put them in there. Okay. And maybe I'll put a little text up here saying flipping part for second face off. Should probably be all caps. You don't necessarily have to do it, but it is nice to know what you're doing on your programming. Okay. Now I'm going to type M0. Well, before I do that, I guess I got to go to the safe position. So M0 should be after that. So I copied those lines in there. They go to safe position. So that's a G0 going to 2.0. Okay. And then that's going to safe position. And then M5 shutting off the spindle. Okay. Because you can't flip the part with your hand in there with the spindle running. Right. So then an M0. And M0, all that does is it tells the machine just to stop the coding or just to stop it for a little bit. And it's going to wait till you tell it to go again by hitting like enter on the machine or the green arrow. You'd have to hit the green button on the machine to get it going again. All right, then after you shut the spindle off, it's going to sit there forever until you tell it to go. But once you tell it to go, you basically have to turn everything back on. Now we have to switch tools because we did our initials with T3, which is a 1/4 inch tool, and we've got to switch tools to T1 before we start. Okay, so I'm going to copy all three of those lines and change that T3 to T1. Okay, so that basically is the go get a different tool, go up to 2,000 RPM, and then go back to my initial position. I'll probably change that position too. So I highlighted those. I'm going to hit Control C to copy them. And down here where I'm flipping my part after my M0, I'm going to hit Control V, paste them in there. Okay. So those three lines up there, the change tool, the 2,000, and go to that position. Then I'm going to change the T3 to T1. Okay. And now I think I'm basically going to go back to that other sheet and we'll go from the drawing. Okay, so yours should look like this after your initials, okay? You don't necessarily need the green text. You don't necessarily have the end numbers in yet. The end numbers will show up. It'll renumber itself when we hit the edit renumber later, okay? So don't ever worry about the numbers being out of sequence because it'll fix itself. Okay, so now we're ready to program it here. Usually you want to try to think about, okay, what's the most efficient way to do this whole part? We definitely would want to do all the machining first, okay, and then do those holes last because the machine's going to clean it out anyway, and then there'll be less to drill. Plus, we can do all this drilling is down lower, okay, so it can move around a lower position and not jump around so high all the time. All right, see how the drilling is lower down in here, so we just can move around at that lower place and not go up and down so high. So we definitely want to do all this machining first. So remember, these are 0.2 deep, okay, and this one's 0.4 deep, plus the 0.04 that we're going to have to face off. So I guess we need to copy the face off in there first, and then start programming that. Okay, so to find the face off that you had up top here, which should have been the first bunch of codes, okay, where it says, you know, it kind of ended the it started out with a G92 and then it M3 S2000. So we want to copy that first G0 in there, okay? And it doesn't matter if you tell it again the feed right there. But so we're just going to copy all those lines that they should have all those 3.6 and all those numbers in there for face off, all right? So I'm going to hit Control C, okay? And I'm going to put them down here at the bottom. Now I know I've got an extra line of code in there, pretty sure. This G0 is going to be an extra one. So after that, I'm going to hit Control V and get rid of this G0 here, because this one's in the wrong. I didn't need that since I'm going down. Okay. So it's going to go at high speed to the same position we did originally to do the face off, right? So remember, it went like a 0.6 of an inch to the left and 3/8 up and 40 thousandths deep. Now the deal here is we already took 40 thousandths off this block. Remember that? So it's already faced off once. So we need to change that 040 to 080 or just 08 because it goes another 40 thousandths deep. Okay. Remember this is absolute programming. So it's zero is up where that block was before we cut anything. So on that'll take it off to 48 thousandths off the other side. So it's 0.08. So that's why the numbers on the CAD drawing are 0.8 more than everything, not the 0.4 more than everything, because we already took 40 off the other side. I just kind of remembered that. All right, so that faces that whole thing off like we did last time. All right. And now the bottom of that, okay, so went to T1, speed to 2000, faced it all off. Now we need to change tools again. So this, all these lines go to safe position, shut off, spin, copy and paste all them again. So a lot of copying and pasting. Okay, so this basically is going to say, go to safe position again, shut off the spindle. We won't need the M0, so we'll take that out in a minute. We'll have to change the tool to the first tool we're going to use, which is the 3/8, so that'll be tool 2, and a speed of 2000. So copy those lines right there, Control C, and put them down here, Control V. Okay. And most of it's good. Get rid of the M0. We don't need that because it can just do it. It doesn't have to sit there and ask us. The tool we want to put in is tool 2, the 3/8 tool. Okay? And everything else is the same. And I kind of like having a line between when I do different things. So that way it kind of helps me realize something else happened. And you can always add text like there, switching to tool 2 or this would be programming the holes or programming the machining. I don't know, you can put whatever you want in there for your notes. Okay, now I think we're finally ready to basically start programming that in. Okay, so that is this drawing. All right. Okay, so we're going to do the machining first. Okay, so that's what these purple lines represent, or purple circles represent. And I always like going clockwise when we're doing wax, because it machines just fine anyway. I mean, if it was it's spinning, tool spinning this way, so it'll be digging it out. So it'll be basically doing climb cutting all around there. So it should clean it out real nice. All right. So we'll go basically, it'll all be G2s because they're clockwise. G3s will be counterclockwise. So we're basically going to go around this one with that radius there, which is, lots of radiuses here, 1.125, and then we'll go over to here. So we're going to go to this XY position first, and then back to the same place we started. Then we'll move over, do it all over again. Then we'll move over and down, do it all over again, move over, or go up and over, do it all over again. And then we'll go right above this thing, and that's when we start doing the holes. Okay, and basically we'll go right above that, and we'll put in that G82 or whatever it tells us to put in. And then we'll just type a bunch of XY, 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 XYs for all our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we'll machine them all. Okay? So that's the plan, and then we're done. Nope, then we got to do it again with the 1/4 inch has to do all those holes too, but that's a copy and paste. That was pretty easy because we got to do all the 1/4 inch ones that go deeper. Okay. Okay, so down here, not after the end of the program stuff, right in the middle here, we switch to tool 2 and we're ready to go. We're sitting up at the tool change position. Okay, so now we got to go to the beginning here. So the beginning is, looks like the X is 0.375 and the Y is 1.5. So that'd be a high speed. So G0. Okay, make sure it's a 0, not an O. The X was X 0.375. The Y was 1.5. Okay, and we just want high speed over to right here above that part. Okay, and then we're going to go around over here to this next one, and we got to go down to the part first of all. Okay, so the depth of that one, I noted it on this drawing on all these blue bolt circles how deep everything is. So that bolt circle is 0.28 deep. So it's 0.2 deep plus 2 face-offs of 40 each. So that's how we get to 0.28 deep. Right, so we've got to go down to that. Okay, sometimes I don't remember this until we get going. And then we are machining going down into the part there. So that's a G1. Okay, but we already told her the G1s are going to F10, so we don't need to put the speed on it. So we got to go straight down. So that's just a Z of a negative 0.28. Okay, so it's going to go straight down there. All right, so we high speed over up. I forgot to put the Z on the line above that too. So right, the part would be, we face it off. The part would be at 0.08 deep is the beginning of the part. So I'm going to go to 0.04 just to be safe. So Z of a negative 0.04. Okay, I forgot to put that in there. Okay, so that it brings us to basically 40 thousandths above the part, and just to be a little bit safe. And then don't forget your decimals, make sure they're right. And then the next line, the G28, will go straight down to 0.28 deep. Okay, then we're ready to do for the G2s. Then we're ready to do circular interpolation. Okay, and that one is going to go straight. We're sitting right here. We're going to go straight over here to this side. Okay, and that one looks like 2.625 in the X, and it's still 1.5. But I usually put the X's and the Y's on circular interpolation because some machines have problems with it if you don't. So the X is 2.625, and even though the Y doesn't change, we're going to put it in there. Y 1.5. Okay, and then we got to add that radius. And the radius is 1.125. Okay. All right, so that'll bring it straight over there. And then we'll just continue it and go back. So G2 X where we were before, which is 0.375, and the Y is still 1.5. Y is always going to be 1.5 on all these. And the radius is again 1.125. Okay, so that brings us from here right back to this position. So you always type in the position you're going to, right? Okay, so we're right here now. We got to go straight over and do the same thing again. So this one is over 0.625. All right, so that's easy. That's just a G1, and the X is the only thing changing, 0.625. Nothing else besides that. Don't have to put the Y because it's not changing when you're doing a G1. G1 just means it's machining at a feed rate of 10 that we said earlier. Now we're doing G2s all over again. You do them like crazy. So G2X to get over to here, right? So that'll be 2.375. And a Y of still 1.5. It's always 1.5. And you got to put the radius in. So the radius of the second one is, anybody see it on that thing? There it is. Hard to see all this. 0.875. Okay, 0.875. And then we go back. So it's another G2 because we're clockwise. And it's X right back where we were before. So I just look up to here to see where the G1 went. 0.625. I can verify it on the print too if I want. Definitely going back to there. And the Y, of course, is 1.5. It's never changing. And the radius is the same as before, 0.875. Okay, so now I want you to do, I'll do the next one with, the next couple with you, and I'll have you do the last one on your own. Okay, so now we got to go over to this and then down. So that's 0.875. So G1, say X 0.875. Okay, and then another line. You don't need to, when you repeat, which I didn't do it up here, I kind of forgot. You don't need, if you're repeating the same G code, you don't need to type in G code, okay, because it stays in its modal. So I could have left those second G2s out. So I'm going to leave this G1 out and just go straight down. So it's a Z, and I've got it written on this bolt circle how, or this travel circle how deep it is. So it's a, I think I made a mistake. First one was 0.875 over. Okay, so this back up to that G1. The first place we went over was actually, no, it's 0.625. Okay, so we did go over to 0.875. Okay, so the radius is different because it's a radius of travel, not location. All right, so it's all fine, but we need to put that depth in there. So the depth of this one is 0.48. It's the deepest one, right? It goes another 2 deeper there. Okay, so we got a Z of a negative 0.48 deep. All right. And now we just repeat again. We go around again. So G2. Okay, and the X is going over to there, 2.125. Okay. 0.125, and a Y, of course, is 1.5 again because that's never changing. And the radius on this one is, I just looked at it, it's 0.625. Gets smaller every time. 0.625. And I'm not going to put G2 on this one like I should have the other one. And it goes right back where it was. So X of 0.875 and Y 1.5. and radius of 0.625. Okay. And now we got to go back up to where we were, which was the z of negative 2.28 up here. So we go, and that's not cutting any material at that point, so that should be a G0 because we want it to go on a high speed. Okay, and that goes up to z of a negative 0.28. Remember, it's all absolute programming, so going up to that 0.28 location. All right, and then we're going to go back over to the next one. All right, and I'm going to let you guys program that. Okay, so we're going to go over to here and do a G2 around there and a G2 back. All right, and then we're going to go over to the center point and stop. At that point, we'll do the G82 together, okay? Okay, this is probably a good place to save and test it, just to see if I broke anything. So File, Save, As, just in case I didn't save it before I did. So save, yep. All right, we turn optional skip on first every time, right? And then we'll go ahead and try to run this thing and see if it blows up. Verify program. Change tool, yep. It faced off the first side. I did my hardly any initials there. It switched back to tool 1. And it also stopped the machine here at M0, okay? Now, I think you can refresh here. Maybe one of these buttons refreshes it. And then it doesn't know what tool's in, so it looks bad, but you can at least get the idea. It didn't realize, once you refresh it, it didn't realize the tool, so. It's got the wrong tool, and it's got an 1/8 of an inch tool in it, but we can at least see if it's doing the right idea here. Let's see if we made any other errors. Yeah, so it did all my circles and went over it. It did it with an 1/8 of an inch tool instead of 3/8 since I refreshed it. The 1/8 must be the default, but it did all the right positions. They look right. It went over. It is in the center point, so everything looks good so far. Surprisingly, I figured I'd make a typo or something there. I'm going to finish this out. Should go back to tool 1. Yep, everything looks good. Okay, so now I'm back over here. All right, hopefully you're in the same position. So we've got all the main machining done. Now we just got to do these bolt circles, okay? So I'm going to read the instructions and see what it tells us there. It surely tells us what tool to use. Standard drill cycle with a 0.1 dwell time and an R value of negative 0.25 is for all the drilling, okay? And we're going to do the 3/8 first and then the 1/4 inch because we already got a 3/8 in there. Okay, so which G would that be? Okay, so we did this in the lesson. We went through all these. These are the drill cycles. We want a drill cycle with a dwell of 0.1 and an R plane. Okay, so it is an 82. Okay, and I think we'll use just a standard drill cycle with an 81 for when we go down to the 1/4 inch bore. Okay, it'll be a little faster running, and I don't care if it's clean on the bottom. But a counter bore for a bolt head, you would want it clean on the top. So this is realistic with a G82 on the beginning. So we go down here where it tells us how to program these things. We're basically going to use this one. So a G98, when you go to initial Z position, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to an R plane of a negative 0.25, so it stays down there low and does it, okay? So we're going to do a G99. So type in a G99. Oh, that's wrong. Sorry, you do that inside the coding. So G82, first one we're doing, G82 space G99. It says it's going to go to the R plane. The Z depth, so that'd be a Z of a point. Now I have to look at the darn drawing because I don't remember, unless somebody knows. Okay, so if we look at that, it says the depth of that 375 is 0.43, okay? Saw that down there. So it's negative 0.43. Negative 0.43. It looks like I got 2 decimals going there. That would definitely give me an error. Get rid of one of them. Okay. So that's where it's going to go basically to do all its traveling at. It's at that position. Okay, that's his. No, that's where it's going. That's how deep it's going to go. The R value is going to go where it does all its traveling. I think I said negative 0.25 on that. So space R negative 0.25. Okay. So all the other stuff was cut 0.28 deep by default, right? Except for that one that was a little deeper, but most were 0.28. right there. All right, so we want to, we're going to be just above that when we're traveling. You could literally put 0.27 in there too if you wanted to, just a random number I picked. Okay, so that's our value. And we're going to dwell a real short time because we got a lot of people running this. And so in reality, you would usually dwell a half a second, but we want these to run a little faster. So we're going to put the P dwell time of 0.1 second, okay, to the 10th of a second. I don't know what I said in the instructions, but just put a 10th of a second. Okay, now the rest of it's pretty easy. It's easier than you think it would be. Don't forget, we got to do a G80 at the end of it. But we just put all the X, Y, Z's in there of all those locations, okay? And it'll go there. Now, it's going to automatically drop down where we're at right now, okay? So it should put that first one in there right off the bat. So later when we copy and paste these, we want to make sure we copy that X1.5 there as well, because it'll pop one right there as well, okay? Okay, so it's going to put one right here. Now I'm going to go to my 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You go to your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're not allowed to go to mine. So that way we got all a little bit different programs. Okay, so we got one in the middle already. So my second one is got an X value of 0.64. Yours will not be that. X.464. And Y value of whatever it is, 1.264. And then you just hit enter and keep going around till you get them all in there. I'm only going to put a couple in. You got to put them all in. Okay, I'm going to go with 3. X of 0.669 on mine. Yours is not that. Y of 0.2. Make sure you don't flip your X and Y's. That's what a lot of new students do, is accidentally flip the X and Y's. 2.162. And I made a typo there. 2.162. Okay. So then you would go to your 4 and 5 and 6 and keep on typing them. So I'll let you get all of them in there. When you get all done, put a G80 below it. And that just says you're done with it. Once I get everybody finishes that, we'll talk about it again here. I'm going to put a space between there so I know that's my CAN cycle starting there. Okay, I think I've told you guys the wrong tool. So instead of tool 3 for that one, it's tool 4. So go back, way back up there where we switched to tool 3. Or was that tool 2? I said tool 2, I guess. And that should be tool 4. It goes from 1 to 1/8, a quarter to 3/8. So that should be tool 3, I think, instead of tool 2. Save it, verify it, program. Okay, redraw it. See if this, it's still probably, it leaves this mess in here when you redraw it. That's a redraw error. That looks more like it. So it should look like that when you're done, so it's moving in. That's still not using that. What is it doing? Did I put tool 3? I can't talk and type evidently. It's tool 4. Sorry. That should look better. Try again. Okay, that's second face off. Now I'm going to redraw it after second face off. That redraw plays some tricks on the darn thing. So I'm just not even going to redraw and see what happens here. Yep. So don't redraw. It just causes more problems than it's worth, unless you can get it to work maybe. But it should basically look like that. It's got depth on it. It'll be below your initials. But in reality, we would have flipped it. So not pokes the holes, okay? Okay. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is we have to put in all these 1/4 inch deep holes, and that will be tool 3. Hopefully I get it right this time. So tool 3. And they're in the same positions as these, so there's a lot of copying and pasting. There is no dwell time because it's a standard drill like that you go through, or depth for the bottom of a bolt sitting in there, so it's not a big deal. And there is no dwell time, so there's no dwell time. Everything else is basically the same. Okay, so we want to get rid of that dwell time and go to the G81. All right, so I'm going to basically go down the G80 and I'm going to circle all those. I'll go to all those positions like that, okay? Yeah, and we're going to go all the way back to the 1.5 and do Control C to copy it, all right? Now you should have all your X's, Y's in there, not just 2 of them. Okay, then go below there and hit Control V to put them in there, okay? And then we want to change that G82 to a standard one, which is just a G81. And we want to get rid of the dwell time because it doesn't have a dwell time. I don't think it would do anything. It would just ignore it. We want to change the depth. The depth of that 1/4 inch looks like it's going 0.78 deep, okay? So it was 0.2 plus 0.2, or sorry, 0.2 plus 0.5 plus 0.08 for the double face-off. We'll change that 0.43 to a 0.78. Okay. And that should, and we also have to switch tools before we do all that. So above that, where it goes to 1.5, we need to add all those lines that go in there to switch tools again. So I'm going to copy and paste them again because that's the fastest way. Go find them. So I got to go to my safe position, shut off spindles, and switch to tool 3, and then turn the spindle back on. Okay. Don't forget to turn the spindle back on. You always got. Sometimes I forget to do that too. You always got to turn the spindle back on because it can't machine anything if it's not spinning. So Control C. I'm going to copy those 4 lines, bring them down, and put them before the second set of holes we're going to put in. Control V. Okay. And we got to change the tool to T3. Okay. So that'll change the tool to T3. And I'm going to save it one more time, and I'm going to try to run this thing. So once you get it working, show it to me, and I'll give you credit for it, and you're out of here. If you're doing this online, make sure you verify it before you send it to me. Don't send me a broke program, right? Or I'll be taking lots of points off. So make sure you verify it and get it to work, okay? If you have an error, okay, so remember how that works? So say I made a typo here and I put a decimal point or something after that, or after that T3, it's going to bring that error out. And let's go through that real quick, just so you remember. So I hit optional skip, and it runs, and it's going to error out right when it gets to that last step. Okay. Does that last one on top. Does all these. Okay, it's going to poke a couple holes in. You should poke 8 holes, not that. And then it wants to change tools. Well, it didn't error out. It actually realized what T3 was with the decimal. But it should error out if you make mistakes, right? So if it does, right down here in the machine info, it'll tell you where the line is, right? So what you do is you just stop it, go to that line and fix it, okay? Now mine didn't actually error out on my error, but so you should get a bunch of other holes going around there, right? Exactly the same. And that would be finished. Now the last thing you have to do is when you're done with it and you're sure it works, or before you start troubleshooting, really, because then you need to put your end numbers in there. Those will help you troubleshoot. Okay, so we go to edit. So the last step that I kind of forgot, renumber. Okay, go to edit, renumber, and just sit and do it. And that updates all your numbers there. So that way when you run it and you have an error, it'll say down here in machine info like N44, and you go right to it and fix it. Okay. And remember, a lot of times what you do is spaces, the decimal places are off a lot of times, numbers are flipped, the XYs are flipped. Those are what I typically see all the time. Little things like that, okay? So yours should be similar to mine, just different XY, so I don't think any of you will have any trouble. Email me if you do, or come to class and I'll see you there too. Okay? I think I paused it through all that. Oh, what does it got that for error for? sure you add this line of code in there. It's very important. Don't mess that one up. I kind of did. Make sure it runs perfect. Big holes, small holes.